Of course, the alt media and some of the YouTube people were all championing Wilcock's 2002 version, Drake's 2011 version, and a number of others of mass arrests this week. And so the question arose is what happens if there are mass arrests and nothing changes from a public perspective? I posted the comment on the page. Well, it can be looked at in a few ways. Can it be because the factions are heavily ensconced within politics and perhaps far deeper than most realise? That's not a possibility, but that's a probability. Now, when something is removed, something has to take its place. And the key is the one taking the place any better than the previous version? Well, with some appointments, likes of Bolton, Giuliani and Haspel, to name but a few, they are not exactly upstanding, non-rogue background replacements, are they? So the song remains the same. But that then applies to most politicians, does it not? Or officials at the top end. They've all done something, whether of their own volition or not. Some are set up. And this is why we say people need to step in and not only help when they get in those positions, but change the mentality of operating within that environment. It's toxic. It's not a government. It's not meant to fix anything. It's not meant to come up with ideas of how to improve the people's life. And then we look at the fact that the government has been shut down for the past 3 weeks. And has anything changed on or within that circle of society? From the public's perspective? Has it? The ones who have been affected is the ones whose pay has been affected. But outside of that, to the general public itself, nothing has changed. So the question is, what do they actually do for us or the country? All this political intrigue and drama about this, that and the other in the government, it closes and nothing changed. Why is that? Well, it changes nothing because they're not there to change anything. They can't, even if they wish to. This is what we've been saying all along. The government doesn't fix anything for we the people. We have to. And by we have to means we must provide a platform and a structure to make that government work for and by the people only, not by fake parties. Because if you think for 1 second one party is better than the other, you haven't learnt enough of how things really work. And you're blinkered by the programme illusion one party will make a difference. It never has. What makes you think it's going to change now? They all come in with their sales pitch 12 months before the main election. And then what did they do? Nothing. Why? Because they are show people, theatre. They're not real politicians. They're not allowed to be real politicians. And then you hear people said 10 years ago, well, it can't be any worse than Bush, they said. And in came Obama, babbling about change. Yeah, right. So Obama, in 8 years, as a Democrat, I might add, and despite being the first ever black president, he did nothing for the people of his own colour, never mind the rest of the country. He increased the debt to his buddies at the Fed by 11 trillion in 8 years. And what benefits did the public see of that? Nothing. And yet, they're expecting us to pay it back. Now, thankfully, the trust stepped in recently and erased that debt of 20 trillion. The country owes nothing. And also the debt to China, wiped out. Politicians are salespeople, and we always buy it. Throw in a little hopium and a 4-year memory loop wipe, and let's repeat it again in the next election. Except what they do is they switch the narrative from one side to the other, like the wall narrative. few years ago, the Democrats were arguing for a wall. Now they're arguing, we don't want a wall. They just flipped the narrative. You read that script now. So we have no government currently, and nothing has changed. So those with common sense will have worked out by now. We never had a government when it was open. Because otherwise, something would have changed, wouldn't it? Blaming the government is pure folly. Blaming the president is pure folly. Government shuts down and nothing changes. So there's no real government, is there? And that's what the Trust and Kim are trying to do in the work of the last 4 to 5 months, is try to create a structure whereby we will have a real American government. We will have America as a sovereign country, not the United States. The United States is nothing to do with America and everything to do with the Congress of Vienna back in 1815. Vienna, Austria. United States of Europe. They had the United States 200 years ago. So all this nonsense about the EU and states all being together, you've been states all together under the United States since 1815. We'll have a real American currency, a real American bank, not the Federal Reserve, a real tax office, the Tax and Revenue Service, not the let's loot every American and sieve it over to the Rothschild service. We're creating a platform. But I hope people now see what we've been saying all along. If you're going to continue party politics and blaming the government, no matter whether it's a Republican government or a Democrat, it doesn't make any difference. The last month has shown that.